I'm in love with that song.
I love that song.
I'm in love with that song.
I love that song.
I love that song.
I'm in love with that song.
I love that song.
I'm in love with that song.
We're coming to your town. We'll help you party it down. We're the Pantheon Podcast Network, and this is the I'm in love with that song podcast. I'm your host, Brad Page. I've got the whole show. That's a natural fact. Each episode here, we explore one of my favorite songs, getting a deeper understanding of what makes them tick, what makes them a great song. On the last few episodes, we've been looking specifically at live recordings, how a song can come to life when played by a real band in front of a real audience. We've been looking at some of the different aspects of live music, how a song can be reinterpreted live, how a band can really take flight live and just play. And one of the other aspects is the full concert experience itself, from the opening number to the final encore, how a show is built and paced. Some of my favorite moments on live albums are the first tracks, the show openers. From the way Deep Purple tear into Highway Star on their classic Made in Japan album, Cheap Trick kicking off at Budokan with Hello There, the perfect opening track, when Paul McCartney and Wings opened the Wings Over America live album with the medley of Venus and Mars into Rock Show, into Jet, it's one of the greatest things I've ever heard. Another one of my favorite 1-2 punch opening numbers is when Grand Funk Railroad opens their live album Caught in the Act with 2 back-to-back tracks that set the tone for a rock and roll celebration. So this time, on this episode, we're going to be listening to not 1, but 2 songs. So let's get this party started with Foot Stompin' Music and Rock and Roll Soul by Grand Funk Railroad. We'll be right back after this message. You may think I'm exaggerating when I say that, for a time, Grand Funk Railroad was the biggest rock band in the world. But in the early 70s, they were bigger than Black Sabbath, or Deep Purple, or Led Zeppelin. They had at least 6 platinum-selling albums in a row and sold out Shea Stadium in 72 hours. That was faster than the Beatles did. And they did this with virtually no help from the critics or the radio. The critics hated them, and they got almost no airplay on the radio until their 7th album. But let's start at the beginning. Terry Knight was a local DJ in Flint, Michigan, and a grade-A hustler. He formed a band called Terry Knight and the Pack, which included a drummer named Don Brewer and a bass player named Mark Farner. The Pack never had much success, though they released 2 albums and some singles and gigged around a lot. Eventually, Terry Knight left the band to start a solo career in New York and ended up as a producer. Meanwhile, Brewer and Farner carried on with the Pack, but eventually they hit rock bottom, stranded on Cape Cod in Massachusetts in February in the middle of a blizzard with no gig and no money. They returned home to Flint and contacted Terry Knight because they knew he had contacts. Knight agreed to manage them, but at a cost. He wanted complete control as manager and producer. Well, with no other options, they agreed. By now, Mark Farner had switched to playing guitar, so the first thing they did was recruit a bass player, Mel Schucker, who had been playing with Question Mark and the Mysterians. The next thing they did was change their name. Terry Knight rechristened them Grand Funk Railroad. It's kind of a pun based on the Grand Trunk and Western Railroad, which ran through the Midwest. Their first big break came when they were able to get on the bill at the Atlanta Pop Festival in 1969. They weren't even paid for the gig, but they made the most of it by playing their asses off and earning a standing ovation. They went over so well that they were invited back the next day and the day after that. By the end of the festival, they were the hot new thing and immediately signed to Capitol Records. Their first album, On Time, came out in August 1969. In December, only 4 months later, they released their second album. It's just called Grand Funk, but fans like to refer to it as the Red Album. They steamrolled across the country, selling out shows, some concerts ending in riots. They released their third album, Closer to Home, in March. That's 3 albums in less than a year. But they were actually getting better. This was their strongest album yet.
Everybody, listen to me and return me my ship. I'm your captain, I'm your captain. Though I'm feeling mighty sick, I've been lost now, days uncounted, and it's months since I've seen home. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Or am I all alone?
Terry Knight celebrated their success by erecting a 60-foot-high billboard in Times Square to promote the Closer to Home album. Terry Knight kept up the hype, and he kept the boys busy by constantly being on the road and away from their books. Knight was taking a big cut of their royalties and performance fees. Mark, Don, and Mel were essentially just employees of Grand Funk Railroad Enterprises. Terry had all the control. By now, the band were selling out shows not just in the U.S., but in the U.K. and Japan. It was in July 1971 when they sold out Shea Stadium faster than the Beatles. More records followed, including E Pluribus Funk, in my opinion, the best of their early albums. Trouble was brewing. The band was chafing under Knight's control, and they started wondering, where's all the money? A bitter dispute followed. They sued Knight, and he sued them back. This legal battle went on for 2 years, and in the end, Knight ended up with a big load of cash and the rights to all their recordings and their songwriting royalties. All the band was left with was the rights to the name Grand Funk Railroad. Ironically, if they had just waited 3 more months instead of suing, that contract would have expired. In 1972, they brought in a 4th member, keyboard player Craig Frost, and they released album number 6, Phoenix. This is kind of a dividing line for fans. From Phoenix on, they embraced their R&B roots more, and their sound got just a little more melodic, more hooks. To some fans, this is where they get off the Grand Funk train. But for me, this is where the records get better.
I remember the night so well. The rain was falling, but I just couldn't tell if it was you that was calling to my lovesick brain. But the rain kept falling on my window pane. Out of the night, the thunder rang in my ears. I can't fight the feeling, Lord, that brings forth my fears.
It's certainly where the records get more popular. In 1973, they bring in Todd Rundgren to produce their next album, We're an American Band. And the title cut is their first #1 hit.
We're an American band. We're an American band. We come into your town. We'll help you party it down. We're an American band.
They bring Todd Rundgren back to produce their next album, Shining On, in 1974, which includes their hit version of The Locomotion and the title cut, Shinin' On.
We are winners and losers, bad fellow choosers. I put here to pass all the time. We are space age sailors, all hell of millions. Now everybody gonna shine and keep it shining.
By December of '74, they release another album, All the Girls in the World Beware, which featured 2 big hits, Some Kind of Wonderful and Bad Time.
Well, let her be somebody else's queen. I don't wanna know about it. There's too many others that know what I mean, and that's why I got to live without it. I'm in love with the girl I'm talking about. I'm in love with the girl I can't live without. I'm in love, but I feel like I'm wearing it out. I'm in love, but I must have picked a bad time to be in love. A bad time to be in love. A bad time to be in love.
They toured in '74 and '75 and then released their second live album. They had released a previous live album in 1970 simply called Live Album. This second live album is called Caught in the Act, and it features all the hits plus a ton of great album cuts. The band, Mark Farner on vocals, guitar, and occasionally keyboards, Craig Frost on keyboards, Mel Shocker on bass, and Don Brewer on vocals and drums, are augmented on this tour by the Funkettes, 2 backing vocalists named Lorraine Feather and Jana Giglio. The original album opens with a long introduction, the sound of the crowd and fireworks going off. That lasts almost 3 minutes. When the album was issued on CD, they cut most of that out, fading up the crowd just before the band kicks off their opening number, Foot Stompin' Music. Don and Mel laying down the groove. So there's Don on drums, Mel on bass, and 2 keyboard parts, because both Mark and Craig are playing organ here. Mark's keyboard is in the right channel, Craig is in the left. Sounds like Craig maybe switched to playing a clavinet while Mark stays on the organ. Let's hear just those keyboard parts for a bit.
Come on, everybody. I wanna hear some hand clapping. I want you to get in the groove. We're gonna play this foot-stomping music. Everybody get up and move, yeah. Oh, take me up there.
That's Don Brewer with the ad-libs there. It's Mark handling the lead vocal. Let's focus on just the bass and the drums here, especially that great walking bass part that Mel Shocker is playing. There's some great dueling organ swirls there. Let's just listen to that. Now, Mark is going to step away from the organ and do some good old-fashioned rock and roll preaching. Now, Mark has had his guitar on this whole time, but he hasn't played a note on it until now. On this tour, Mark was playing a Volino 72 Standard. It's a pretty unusual guitar. It's made of aluminum. Mark has a fairly unique guitar tone all through this album, but how much of that is strictly due to this guitar, I don't know. Let's bring up this guitar solo in the mix. And Mark is going to switch back to the organ here. Let's bring those vocals to the front. Let's go back and just hear that drum fill. All right, here comes the big finale. And listen to Mel Schocker's bass in particular. He is riffing like a madman. Here's another great drum fill by Don Brewer. Let's take a quick break here, and then we'll be right back. So foot stomping music ends right there, but the party is just getting started. They pause for just a few seconds, and then they count right into the next number, Rock and Roll Soul. I really dig this whole introduction. So right there, Mark says, "We done this song a long time ago." This concert was recorded in 1975. The song originally appeared on the Phoenix album in 1972. So, I don't know, 3 years doesn't seem like a long time ago to me, but I suppose when you're still in your 20s, releasing 2 to 3 albums a year and living at the pace these guys were, 3 years maybe seems like an awful long time. I love that transition into the actual song. Let's bring up the vocals.
If you can get with it just a little more, it don't take much trying to find if you got some rock and roll soul. Ain't everybody in the world, so when you know what you got, let everybody know you got some rock and roll soul. So when you know what you got, let everybody know you got some rock and roll soul.
Notice how they change up the groove on this section, especially on the drums.
I know that I'm feeling groovy. It's kind of funky like an old-time movie. I can feel it, it's really something. Man, it's something when my heart starts pumping, yeah. Tell everybody you know you got some rock and roll soul.
Don Brewer is going to take over the vocals for this section. And I really like what Craig Frost is doing on the keyboards in the left channel. It's very simple, but I love how it plays off the rhythm of the guitar and the drums. Mark Farner takes another guitar solo, but first, I want to hear what the bass and drums are doing under this section. Okay, let's go back and hear that with the guitar solo. More guitar. Now he's got a flanger on his guitar. The bass goes wild again. Foot-stomping music and rock and roll soul by Grand Funk Railroad. This would be the peak for Grand Funk Railroad. They would release a couple more albums, but sales were declining and there was tension building within the band, and by 1976, they split. Mark Farner released a couple of solo albums, and Frost, Brewer, and Shocker soldiered on, releasing one album under the name Flint. They got back together a few times, starting in 1981, and released a couple more albums. In my opinion, those records don't really hold up. For quite a while, both Brewer and Frost joined Bob Seger's Silver Bullet Band. In fact, Frost still plays with Bob Seger today. Mel Shocker left the music biz for a while, but he and Brewer have toured versions of Grand Funk Railroad since the late 90s. Mark Farner does his own thing with Mark Farner's American Band. Grand Funk can sometimes be a punchline today. They are, after all, Homer Simpson's favorite band.
Mr. Simpson, sir! Can you please change the radio station?
But this is Grand Funk Railroad. You guys back there know Grand Funk, right? Nobody knows the band Grand Funk? The wild, shirtless lyrics of Mark Farner? The bong-rattling bass of Mel Shocker? The competent drum work of Don Brewer? Oh, man! For more information on Grand Funk, consult your school library.
But they're no joke to me. Yes, it's meat and potatoes rock, but there is some great stuff in their catalog, and I legitimately love this album. As a teenager, I played it over and over and spent many an hour playing air guitar to this record. Thanks for joining me here on the Pantheon Podcast Network for another edition of the I'm in Love with That Song podcast. We'll be back in about 2 weeks with another new episodes, so join me again then. All of our previous shows, and there's over 160 of them, can be found on our website, lovethatsongpodcast.com, or find them in your favorite podcast app. Just look for us. You'll find us in there. Keep in touch with us on Facebook or send me an email. lovethatsongpodcast@gmail.com is the address. And if you'd like to support the show, all I ask is that you tell a friend about it, because your recommendation is worth more than any advertising. I thank you again for listening to this episode. Now go find yourself a copy of Caught in the Act by Grand Funk Railroad. Put it on your turntable and crank up those first two tracks, foot stomping music and rock and roll soul.